The IEC has suspended the National Party from partaking in the 2024 elections. It's called for the party to elect a legitimate leadership after factions claimed to be at the helm. The party has until March to resolve the issue. For more on this, we're joined by NFP parliamentary leader Shaik Imam. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
Well, very good evening, and thank you for having me on the air this evening.
So the last time we were talking to you, of course, the issue of liquidation because of not handing in financials to the IEC is what we were talking about. And at the time, an investigation was going to be carried out into the Treasury General into what exactly would have led to him not doing what he was supposed to do. Now it seems things have escalated into even the IEC now saying that you're banned from the 2024 elections because they are not quite sure who is the legitimate leader who needs to be in the books there. So that says to me, from the last time we spoke, things are seemingly getting worse, even though you were quite optimistic that you were going to be able to resolve these issues.
Yeah, let me start off. I don't know how much of time we have got.
No, we've got enough time. Go for it.
All right. First of all, it is not true that the financials of the National Freedom Party is the reason why the IEC wants to suspend the NFP. It has never been anything to do with the finances at all. Safe to say, the problem with the finances is that when you annually send in your financial statements, it must be accompanied by a Section 9. The Section 9 tells the IEC who are the current leadership that is responsible at the party in terms of finances and things, as in terms of the Political Party Funding Act. Financials in the NFP is up to date. It has been audited. In fact, there is very little funding that we've received from the IEC in the last 3 years. But what little that was received was audited. Auditor statements were ready. They were provided to the IEC. What the IEC wants, and correctly so, is a Section 9 which must be completed by all political parties that receive such funding. The difficulty is that the NFP has two factions. These two factions have been continuously fighting each other for power and control. I am the national treasurer of the party. I am also, in terms of a settlement agreement between the two factions, appointed by the former president to be the only national PLC member responsible between the IEC and the party.
Yeah.
However, sometimes what the IEC tends to do is with the internal factional fight that goes on,
right,
anyone and everyone writes to the IEC, and so the IEC says there's a dispute.
Yeah.
Now, where did this come from? In fact, in 2019, I personally brought these two factions together so that we can contest the elections. Okay, I belong to Faction A on the side of my president, but have never aligned myself to factionalism.
Yeah,
I've always been independent.
So
now,
let's sort out the factions while we are there, because it's Christopher Sibisi who says our treasurer failed to submit statements to the to the IEC. Hence, we are in this mess, right? So, is that a faction?
Right. First of all, Christopher Sibisi belongs to Faction B, not the faction of the president. However, if you look at the judgment of Chief of Justice Kul in the Pietermaritzburg High Court, when Sibisi was appointed to Faction B under Mlotshwa, immediately he got elected, and the Faction A gave him a position of a scribe or secretary. He did everything in his power to get rid of his senior who put him there, Mr. Mlotshwa, to the extent that Judge Kun said that all your problems emanate from Christopher Sibisi. Now, so let me say this to you. After having done that, after having confirmed through affidavits that indeed the unlawful conference they had was legitimate, the president attended to, 2 years later, the very same Christopher Sibisi gives a sworn affidavit to say, everything I said in my affidavits are not true. I only did that because I thought I was on the right side. But the truth is, President did not attend. We did not follow no process. Yeah. Let me tell you, after spending 2 to 3 million rand in court, Christopher Sibisi comes back and says, all I said was not true. Yeah. And then gave a true picture of what happened. Yeah. That's the Christopher Sibisi.
However, the court judgment still cites him as the Secretary General. At least the IEC says that.
No, let me tell you what the court judgment is saying. Yes, the court judgment says, and correctly so, because I was part of that application to set aside the conference, because that was the instruction by my president. Okay? So I was, in fact, on the side of former comrade Mlochwa, who's now with the PMO, because it was the right thing to do. When we came to the 2019 election, immediately after the election, after bringing them together, my particular faction did everything to even remove Mlochwa from the legislature, which I said was wrong. That is where the problems of the party stand, led by Kanan Mleche and others. They continue with the division. But on the other hand, you have faction B, who also wants power and control, to the extent that, we're trying to bring them together to complete the Section 9, submit the financials, okay? They're not willing to. We've even had a mediation process with acting Judge Michael Mtembu. Yeah. Everybody knows him. Even that failed because both sides want power and control. That is the crux of the problem. So the problem is nothing to do with finance. Right now, as I talk to you, there's a corruption charge for over 200,000 laid against Mr. Sibisi, including a corruption charge for misleading a girl into giving her a job. Those, I can even quote you the case numbers in Cape Town. That is how far the situation has gone. Let me tell you one more step. They go to the IEC and say there's money missing in the account. They are the ones that get the messages on their phone and then come back and say, we are terribly sorry. We know what we said is not true, but the factions are fighting. We can say we have to say something. The auditor said, but I have done the audited statements. It's up to date. Everything is in order. Now we are very, very sorry. We know we did the wrong, but we will withdraw it. This is how you operate. This is how you just to get power and control. So the problem in the party is, I don't blame the IEC other than the IEC should be speaking to the person where there's a court order appointing myself as a national PLC member. If they did that and say to anybody else, if you don't accept it, you go to court. But there's an order which says until 2024, I am the national PLC member.
So the IEC says it has difficulty because it's also not clear who is the interim NEC.
No, can I tell you? Yes, let me tell you why the IEC. And you don't blame the IEC. In fact, this is why I said to the Minister of Home Affairs, maybe you need a conflict resolution committee at IEC level. So when there's infighting between political parties who are spending millions of rands of taxpayers' money, going to court all the time, only enriching the lawyers, that is all that is happening, and not getting anywhere. They're not serving the interests of the broader public. Now, let me tell you, the IEC, initially there was a foresight led by President VZ Magwaza CB. Now, subsequent to that, some of them have left the party, joined the PMO and whatever it is. Then some members were replaced. Even that, Judge Gani raised concerns. How do you appoint 8 people if you say you got hundreds of thousands of members in the party? What formula you use? What criteria do you do? However, so members have come in. The problem is that if you take a guy like Dlamini, who's from faction ASM, signed the settlement agreement in 2018. Now, there was an agreement when the NFP did not contest in 20 between them that you can go and contest with other parties because you were not contesting. Now, after him being a signatory to that document and presiding over 50 meetings, taking some of the decision, replacing some of these INEC meetings, you now come back and say that he's not entitled to be on a national level because the constitution of the NFP says that if you haven't served the full 5-year term, you cannot hold national office. Now, it's disingenuous because you were part and parcel of and he's a signatory to that. If that's the case, it means INEC is not lawful either because he was a signatory to the agreement. But that is not the problem, sir. The problem is both the factions are the same. They both want power and control, and they don't mind. The principle that they want to go on is this. If I can't get what I want, nobody must get it. Even if I destroy the entire organization, so be it. But if I can't get it, nobody must get it. And that's the crux of the problem. There's no problem with the finance. There's no problem with the leadership, because I'll tell you what I said to them. All of you that are in court implicated, can you step aside for the time being? The rest of us, 5 of us, let's put that on the Section 9 so that we can work with the IEC and submit our Section 9 with your financials and go ahead. They don't want that either, sir. It's either them or not. That is the problem we got at the NFP. So it's nothing to do with the finances. It's the leadership that everybody wants to be in power and control. And that's why our councillors have died. Exactly the same thing. If you listen to the allegations by our councillors on loudspeaker, Sam, where Mr. Sibisi calls our councillor and says, I'll give you 40,000 rand and a brand new car. Don't vote with us. Vote with the opposition party. That is exactly, and when the person didn't want to do it, what happened? His life was in danger. They wanted to kill him. When they failed, they killed the other councillor. When they failed, killed that one, they needed to kill one more to take control. So they tried to kill the others. They got caught in trying to kill the last one. Now they tried again. So you can see the internal factional fights in the NFP is what's destroying the organization and also costing the lives of our innocent councillors and the innocent members on the ground. They had a conference a week ago. Yeah,
let's talk about that provincial conference that failed to sit, right? There is a Jeremiah Mavundla. Yeah. Which faction is that?
Mavundla is faction A on the faction of President Magwaza Msibi.
Right. He says he did not recognize. In fact, he interdicted that provincial conference. Why?
Now, let me tell you, you see, power again. First of all, he interdicted it as a member, as the president, acting president and deputy president of the NEC of that unlawful conference that the court has set aside. More importantly, when the court set aside that, there was also an interdict. And today I spoke to the council. He's shocked when I told him, did you know that there's an interdict interdicting Mavundla and them from operating as an NEC? He didn't even know that because they don't tell you the truth. That is what has happened. But let's go to that conference then. I'm the national treasurer of the party, member of the INEC. Okay, I'm the longest serving member of the NFP at a national level, only serving member, to be honest with you, from the national original conference. Right. Now, we agreed on a system in the party, a foolproof system, that there will be no membership books, nothing. Let's do this, I said. Let's give them forms, send it through to the treasurer with the payment deposit slip. Let me verify it. Let me put it onto a database. Okay. Print the cards, give it to the administrator to send it. All agreed. Circulars went out and everything. What happened? Faction B comes to me. It's a pity I can't play you the recording, which I have. And I'll tell you what they told me. Mr. Mansour, if you want to be the leader, we will support you. We'll put bogus branches all over the country. I said, I will never allow that. You want a free, fair, credible, and transparent conference. Let me tell you what they said to me. They know they don't have the numbers, so they can't have a free conference. But let me tell you what they did say. They now, because they can't manipulate the system that I put in place, they went out and printed their own membership books. There's a court order in Durban, which I brought, which says that any INEC meeting can only be held on a Friday. Why? Because I'm in Parliament for the rest of the week. I can make myself available on Friday. No payments to be made unless it's on the agenda. They went against all those things. They went, and two of these people, Sibisi and Teddy Twala, were expelled at the time. They go and have their own meetings with their own INEC. They print their own books. They want to have their own conference, leaving out 90% of the people because they don't have the numbers. And I wrote to them again and again saying, you're doing unlawful things. You cannot do that. You can't have meeting. They will call a meeting today for tomorrow. And in order for me not to attend, they call a meeting in Dundee, in Port Shepstone, all over. But we recognize an office in Durban as our office. So this is the problem. And what did they do? They tried to, and true as God, as I got the information from this unlawful conference that took place, which matter is now going to court. Okay, they spend more time in court than on the ground serving the people. Now what has happened is that there was no voters roll. The person who claims to be from INEC had resigned at some stage. He's been expelled. The matter has been appealed. He's still in court. But has it unlawful? He presides over the matter. There were people that were not entitled to be there. They said Itegwini had 69 members. Only 10 people were available. They were doing all kinds of things to try and legitimate, only because I want power. If I don't get it, then nobody must get it. Let me even destroy this beautiful organization. That's what it is.
So what's the status then of the conference that was held last week?
The conference people are going into court to settle. Let me tell you what I'd love to do, sir. I'd love to liquidate the National Freedom Party. It's got a over 40 million rand debt. When they are fighting each other, they even make sure, both sides, they don't even want the councillors to pay the monthly party contributions. You sent a circular saying they all must pay. When you're fighting, you tell the councillors don't pay. Nobody is even paying that. They don't want to pay the service provider millions of rand. Who is paying this millions of rand? How come an employee has got 6 bodyguards? Who is paying for these bodyguards? Where is all this money coming from? So the thing is this, that conference now, there's a matter coming before the court to set aside the conference, to interdict these people. But again, the question is, as you're asking correctly, sir, where to from here? Unless this party has an administrator appointed by the court to take total control or liquidated, there is no solution. The infighting will continue. They're not paying this money from their pocket, so if it doesn't affect them at all, this is all taxpayers' money that is being wasted. That is what it is all about, and running to court. Now let me tell you what happens then. We got 40 million rand debt. If you remember, one service provider was all over the media wanting to liquidate us. Why suddenly he's not talking about liquidating the NFP? Let me tell you what the other service provider told me in a week that wanted to liquidate us. You know what, Mansoor, we got a problem. We're getting calls. I'm getting calls from different political parties getting involved in your people's things now. Can I tell you what it is about? Political parties opposition to NFP is offering the service providers to pay the debt if you don't liquidate us, because we're going to take control through this unlawful conference that they've had. That's what it is about. So can you imagine how much of taxpayers' money is getting stolen from these local municipalities to fund all these unlawful things that are going? Something that I've raised in Parliament over 50 times. Close the gap to corruption at local government. That's what it is all about.
So if we are not going to have an administration at the NFP and there is not going to, by the looks of things, even be a conference that will sit before the end of the year, how is the party then going to contest elections in 2024?
I think the question we need to ask, and it's very unfortunate that I have to be on the other side, and the parliamentary leader of a founding member who gave it its name and did everything has to respond to this. But I can tell you now, the question is, do we have a right to exist if you're not there to serve the interests of the people? If you can't sort out your problem between 6 and 8 people, then the question I want to ask is, how are you going to serve the better common interest of the broader South African community? If 6 and 8 people can't get together and solve a problem of this nature, and it's all about power and control, so do you have the right to actually exist? That's why I believe that the IEC needs a conflict resolution committee, so people don't have to run to court, and the final arbiter must be at the IEC. Okay, so you can sort problems of this nature. Many parties have got problems. The NFP's problems emanated from 2016 and aggravated by the fact that my former president unfortunately turned ill. But it did because we were sabotaged in 2016. It's not that we didn't have the money. The money was there in the account. And the treasurer gave a commitment even to me. I was in Cape Town the night before I paid. But deliberately, and now there are rumors, there are allegations that he was paid 7 million rand. That's the allegation, not to register us for the election. So, that is why we are sitting in the problem. I didn't blame our people when they were upset. But what happened is then there was a scramble for places. So the few positions we had, everybody were after that. Right now, had they not done what they did to Mr. Mlotshwa, he perhaps would have still been in the party. We would have still been continuing. Today he's the mayor for his own party. They chased him away. And this is what happens just for power and control. They want to fight and fight and fight till even if they destroy it. And that's the route it's going. So this matter will go to court. They will go back to court. Now currently you are expelled. How do you go and have unlawful meetings, go and create your own membership books, open your own bank accounts, receive your own money when you were part and parcel of the system and agreed on the system we're going to follow? You resign as an administrator, okay, and your resignation is accepted. Next thing you say, I'm withdrawing it, and write to the IEC and say there's a leadership squabble. and the IEC accept that, yet the IEC should be communicating with me because I am appointed to 2024 as the liaison between the party and the IEC. When 2019, the IEC didn't even want my president to be sitting next to me when I was doing the submissions. But I wanted her there and I made sure she was there. Yeah, but she played no role. So why are you not communicating with me when I am there's a court order to that? Now you're asking us to bring court order who the leaders are. Should you not be telling anybody if you contesting that Shaik Imam is the national PLC member, then you go bring a court order. That's what you should be saying. But they're not. So, the way they handle it as well is a bit of a problem. But the problem is caused by the NFP through the internal fractional fights. I mean, you have members, I'll tell you, sitting in an INEC meeting who agree that a man was an interim administrator, he's resigned. Right. Yes, write a letter, thank you. But because you're part of his faction, tomorrow you go out, you collude with him and do all these wrong things. So these are not ethics. This is not leaders. This is not the way you conduct yourself, but serve the people.
Let's leave it there. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your intervention tonight.
Thank you very much. But I can assure you it's nothing to do. I can even send you, if you want the financial, you can have a look at it. There's nothing wrong with the finance. The problem is the leadership.
It's the leadership. Much appreciated.
Thank
That's Shaik Imam, NFP parliamentary member, but also the National Treasurer General of the NFP.